Well, I know it's gonna I know it's gonna happen at some point that I'm gonna move into this full time, but the bigger vision that inspires me is leading by example and teaching, not teaching, but showing younger generations that they can become an artist and it's a viable career. Hey Dean, how's it going?
There he is. Steve Light, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, man. How are
Been
you?
a long time. When was the last time I saw you?
Saw you in person in 2013. I was just thinking about that. It was
Oh,
when you came over to Tower Bridge. I don't know
that's
if you
right.
remember that.
Yes, of
Um,
course I
yeah,
do. Yeah. Wow, that's a long time. Well,
yeah,
welcome to More Cheese, Less Whiskers. I'm glad we can connect and catch up, and I want to hear everything you're up to.
yeah. Thank you. It's a real honor to be here. Honestly, I've been listening to your podcast for years, and now being on one, that's pretty cool. So thanks.
Oh, awesome. Well, why don't let's start with the Steve Light story here. I
Yeah,
think because you're doing some pretty cool things. So I'd love to maybe start there and then we can jump off to whatever you'd like to focus on.
yeah, sure. Where do you want me to start from?
Well, let's see. So you were born and then we're here today. And what happened in between?
Yeah, I was wondering whether to go that far back, but yeah, so yeah, let's start from like,
Well, first of
uh,
all, let's address your accent. So you're
yeah,
from Alabama.
yeah.
Is that what?
I'm from the west of England, so I lost my accent when I met you. I moved to London, it kind of got rid of it. But I'm towards Bristol, which is the west side. I'm in a place called Swindon, and when I was younger, I had a stronger accent. But yeah, when speaking of that, when I was younger, I was a really shy kid. Loved drawing a lot, so I kept myself to myself. Spent hours just drawing, copying out of nature books, making up Nintendo. You'll remember Nintendo Entertainment System
Of course, yeah.
back in the day, drawing, like making video game covers and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
So it was my way of kind of getting away from the world and kind of what I now know as the flow state, just being really engaged. So yeah, I was really into drawing. And then fast forward a couple of years later, I was studying just before college, so the level just before college, and my art tutor wasn't very supportive. And he told me I can't draw large scale. We're doing this large scale drawing project on like massive pieces of paper.
Hmm.
And he said that, and I just I was just really annoyed, and I dropped out of his class, and yeah, didn't do anything for 20 years.
Wow. Isn't that amazing how
Yeah,
words can have a thing? I mean, that's let me
I
ask you,
know.
are you Banksy?
I can't
You
really
can't
say.
say either way. Oh, you're right. That's so funny. My
Yeah,
only thing about that, you said Bristol, and that's
yeah.
I was at the Hotel de Vin in Bristol
Yeah.
there. It's great. But I saw
Oh, cool.
all these original Banksies in the place. That's where he's from, right? Is that
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So Bristol's got a lot of street art. It's kind of it brings a lot of tourism there. But
Mhm.
I think Swindon, you've probably never heard of Swindon. A lot of listeners won't have, but it's kind of a railway heritage town. So they built the Great Western Railway. They had like the main hub there, so it was quite bustling back in the day. But now it's kind of there's not much here, and there's no really focal points for tourism. But that said, there's been quite a street art boom. So I started doing some murals. I never done a mural in my life, and then I just decided to give it a go.
Yeah.
And then I painted Swindon's biggest mural with a group of artists on the side of this tailor's. So it was like a big wall with some graffiti on. I'm not against graffiti, but it was just like the wall was a bit run down and it had a few tags on it, and it was a bit of an eyesore. So we painted. There's 10 of us, and we painted like one section each, and it just the response from the local community, they were like, people came up to us crying, which we didn't expect. Like they were
Mm.
saying thank you, we walked past this going to work and it brightened up our day. And that's one of the things I love about art. It just, especially public art as well, you don't have to
Mhm.
pay to go into a gallery. You can just see it on the
It's
streets.
amazing the transformative, what the transformation that art can have just in a community. So I live in Winter Haven, Florida,
Yeah,
and there's, all throughout town, there are these large public, mural type of things that are just beautiful, some of them, and yeah, it's amazing. Some of them are subtle and but they just have a really neat effect on the way you feel about the environment. Art elevates things.
absolutely. Yeah. And especially like a town in Swindon, like I say, it's an old industrial town, and it's really beautiful because it's in the countryside, and you can drive for 10 minutes and you're out in like the absolute sticks.
Mhm,
So all the street art that's been appearing, like when we did this mural, there was a bit of a street art boom after that. So we had Swindon Paint Fest for the past couple of years. So we've had artists from all over the country come into Swindon and put their mark on different walls. Different shopkeepers and people who own the buildings let us use it as a
mhm,
blank canvas, and there's been so many popped up in the past 2 years.
mhm.
So I'm hoping it's going to bring more people into the town to see that. So yeah, it's been pretty cool.
I love it.
Yeah.
I went to a Banksy exhibit in Amsterdam,
Oh,
and,
nice.
and then the next summer I was in Toronto, and the exhibit was coming to Toronto, and somebody stole a Banksy from the exhibit. Just
Oh, no way.
walked in, took it off the wall, and walked out. And it's one of my favorite moments ever, because on where I was in Yorkville, there was a billboard that was promoting the Banksy exhibit, and it was like, 79 original Banksies or whatever. And I took a picture of it, and with my photo editing thing, I scratched it out and put 78. I thought, somebody quick, come over with a ladder and we could do this on the real billboard for
Oh,
it.
brilliant.
And
You
it
should
would
have
have
done
been
it.
funny because it's so appropriate, that for a guy whose main thing is, graffiti type stuff. He would totally have to approve of that.
Yeah, he would have loved that, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, very funny. So how does that, what are you doing now that you're,
So a bit more about my history. When I met you in 2013, I was doing a bit of freelance web design, so I've got a background in that as well. And also, I was running anxiety groups in London. So
what
when
I
I come to
remember is that.
yeah, when I come to meet you, I wrote a short book called The Influential Introvert, part of your marketing program. I never did publish that actually. It's still on my Dropbox, but I did publish another book called Social Anxiety Inside Out in 2013. So you definitely inspired me from going through the whole process and getting it down. And then, even though I didn't publish the one we worked on, I published another one. So that's, yeah, I haven't really promoted it, but it's sold a bit, and it's just nice being out there in the world. So yeah, I was running these groups. I set up different like public speaking fear groups and stuff all over London.
Mm.
And then it's still running now on meetup.com. It's the biggest one. I think it might be the biggest one in the world. I'll have to check, but it's definitely the biggest one in the UK. There was about 15,000 people on the meetup group or something.
Wow.
So I handed that over to some people, and then I moved out of London back to Swindon from this area. So then I started, as I said before, I didn't draw for 20 years. So I picked it up in 2019. And the catalyst for that was I was reading a blog post by Thomas J. Bevan, and it said, he just gave three questions. It was, what did you like doing as a child? What did you spend most of your time doing as a child? And the third one was, what did people say you were good at as a child? And but all of mine were video games and drawing.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't really want to pursue a career in video games. I don't play games anymore, but I was big into it back in the day, and I thought I'll just get back into drawing again. So I started drawing. It was really hard getting back into it because you've got your own inner critic judging what you're doing as you're doing it, and you're like, this is rubbish. But I started off by drawing my dog, and this series of like 8 little drawings. When I look back at them now, 5 years later, they're like, I really like them. And
Hmm.
that's the thing about art, really. You, as an artist, you create lots of different work, and you might not like it, but your mind can easily be changed over time. You might not like it when you're creating it, you might like it when you create it.
Hmm.
And that's the same for people viewing your art. So there's no point dwelling too much on what other people think of it, because their
Hmm.
mind might change over time anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got back into that, and then I 2 years after that, we had all lockdown and stuff. So I was fortunate I could work at home in my day job. Did a load of painting, experimenting, and then in 2011 I got my own art studio. So in the town centre here, there was like an old post office, and a group of artists took it over because it was owned by the council, and they just gave
Oh.
it to us to use. Just pay them a minimal fee just to use it.
Hmm.
So I think there's about 25 artists all in this area in the center of town. We've all got our own separate studios.
Wow.
And it's really cool. And it's since when I got my studio, I was thinking I want to pursue this as a career. I'm working a day job in doing kind of web stuff and everything. And over since 2021, started having exhibitions. I've had work sent over to Germany, had a few exhibitions in London, and yeah, I think I've probably had about 25 different exhibitions over the past 3 years.
Hmm.
So I've really kind of, don't want to use the word hustle, but it kind of feels like I've been pushing myself to get my work out there and
Hmm.
do different exhibitions. And it's quite hard at times if you don't sell any work because you put all this effort into it,
You're right.
and people come along, might not buy anything, they might enjoy it, but it's yeah, it is tough. But
Mm.
I've got this urge in me to continue to pursue it until it becomes a full
What kind
time
of
thing.
style? What's your artistic style? Who would, or what kind of, how would you describe what you do?
In a tongue in cheek way, I like to say I'm the modern Jean de Buffet, who was a French artist who I compare myself to him because he actually started when he was 40.
Oh.
No, 41 actually, and I'm 41 now. I started a bit younger, but he was self-taught. He made his own curriculum. He learned philosophy, read different books on art and art history and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
he's got kind of a naive outsider style. So it's not. I have to send you a link to his work afterwards, but it's kind, I guess, childlike. I guess I like to see myself as an outsider artist. So I paint. Just to explain, outsider artist traditionally means you're not formally taught. So you haven't done an art degree or a master's degree. So you're self-taught basically. So my style is I call myself a figurative expressionist. So it's
Oh, I got
basically
it. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I paint figures in an expressive way. So it's always around stuff that's going on in my life and in my inner world. And I like to explore death as well, not in a morbid way, but have you heard of the philosophy Memento Mori? Yeah, it's viewing death in a way. We're all going to die, aren't we? It's a inevitable fact, but we put it to the back of our minds. But
Yeah.
Memento Mori is kind of appreciating. Oh, you've got him up on the screen. Yeah,
Got him up on the
appreciating your
screen. Yeah.
life and living it to the fullest, basically.
Yeah.
So
I love these colors,
yeah,
this kind of stuff. This is like a brighter. Hey, this one here reminds me of who was the Andy Warhol's friend in New York. He's become really popular.
what not Keith Haring or
No,
Basquiat?
well, it is kind of Keith Haring like, right? Like the color
Yeah,
and the graphic elements of it. That's kind of Keith Haring like. But
not Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Basquiat, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
These ones over here kind of, but they're brighter, not as dark and
yeah.
imposing. Yeah. Okay, so I get a sense of what the vibe is then. That's pretty, yeah, the big scale. Do you do big scale things like this?
Not, I haven't done that big apart from the
Okay.
mural stuff, but I'll send you, if you go to type in slart.me, you can just
Okay. Oh,
have a
this
quick
is
look.
yours. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Art.
But yeah, an interesting thing about Jean de Buffet, he was actually an inspiration to Keith Haring and Basquiat.
Oh, okay. So that's great.
Yeah.
Look at
So
me
you,
picking that
yeah.
out of some people.
So you see the influence, like the kind of doodly style of Keith Haring from
Yeah.
that, and you see Basquiat's
Uh-huh.
influence. So if you go to artwork on there,
Hey, there we go.
you can
Wow.
kind of see
Yeah.
I've got most of my stuff on there. So
Yeah.
I
Very nice.
documented my journey of yeah, I did a nude painting. I'll say a bit about that quickly. It's I saw this guy's work called I've forgotten his name. It'll come to me in a bit. This artist did a lot of nudes of himself where his penis
Uh-huh.
was strangling his penis was extremely long and it was choking him. And I got really pissed off by it. It was like I don't know why I was triggered. It was really weird, and I was triggered by it. And then I decided I'll paint myself because
Oh, wow.
I've had body issues. I've just been overweight all my life, basically from childhood, and I thought I'd just face up to it with painting a self portrait and going through that the process, looking at myself, kind of projecting this
Hmm.
in a kind of feeling of myself on the canvas, and then looking back at it afterwards was quite cathartic. So a lot of my work is cathartic around
That's a really
my
interesting,
expression.
like that's right in my style. We'll take a little
Mm.
tour. I'll show you my in my dining room. I have a piece called Men on Forks
Oh, nice! I love that.
done by yeah, so it's big. I mean it's 10 feet by
Is
something.
that one canvas then, or was that
No,
four?
it's four. Yeah, four on on wood, not on it's not canvas. They're on
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's like what was it? A triptych is
Yeah, so
three. What was it for? Yeah, I
whatever
don't know.
four is of that. Yeah. So it's along the bottom, it says, do not go gentle into that good night, along all four of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah.
I love art. Like it's really as interesting as we have the conversation, like I'm kind of fascinated by the whole thing. Like art,
Yeah.
like music. The thing about it is that art is not like from a marketing standpoint, art is not sold or it's discovered and
Mm.
it either vibes with you, it speaks to your soul, or it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's either like it, you can't be there's no intellectual thing of being convinced that this is good art. You either it's like music, it either resonates with your soul or it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
That's so that's an advantage, is that part of the thing is having your art be exposed to
Yeah.
people. There's nothing qualitative per se. There is a little bit, but not some of the artists that sell for the highest selling artists are not really, it's not because of their artistic ability per se,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
It's the whole packaging and the environment and the the whole thing that goes into it. Like I think you think about the top, you think about Damien Hirst as an
Mm.
example of, the dots as
Yeah.
the things. I saw a great thing that was a meme. It was a comparison of it was, young Damien Hirst at 9 years old, and it was all these like sort of unround, dots on a page that he
Yeah.
drew himself. And then it was Damien at today, and it was the same thing except the perfect circles, and it was
Yeah.
Damien with help
Yeah.
because he doesn't even paint the circles anymore, It's so
Yeah. He gets assistants to do it, and
yeah.
people might frown upon that, but the more I've got into art, I understand that a lot of it is the concept behind it. It's
That's the art, right? They're
yeah,
separating the art and the craft.
yeah,
And you look at many famous artists like that, Jeff Koons, you look at Shahuli, the glass artist. That's
yeah. I love him. Yeah,
He doesn't do it because he
Yeah,
can't because of his eye, right? So
yeah, yeah,
famous, one of probably the world-renowned art or glass artist, and doesn't he just executive produces it basically. It's his art, his vision,
yeah,
his idea. It's kind of like the difference between being an author and a writer. It's the same
yeah,
as being an artist or a craftsman,
yeah. Yeah, it's almost like Chihuly is like a film director. He's directing the crew and they're
Hmm.
building like the piece and he's making sure it fits his vision.
Hmm.
Yeah, because he does some huge pieces and he couldn't just do that on his own.
Yeah, he did the at Bellagio, did the whole
Yeah.
entry thing. Yeah. So what's your vision then for this? Where is this going for you?
Good question. Well, I know it's gonna I know it's gonna happen at some point that I'm gonna move into this full time, but the bigger vision that inspires me is leading by example and teaching, not teaching, but showing younger generations that they can become an artist and it's a viable career because
Hmm.
it's like so many there's not really like if you want to be a doctor or something like that there's a proven path that you have to follow to become a doctor and then you can specialize, but with becoming an artist, even if you do a master's degree at a good university, not everyone becomes a top artist, let alone an artist that can support themselves. So it's
Hmm.
the whole becoming an artist is an art in itself. I like to say it's not
Hmm.
there's not a science to becoming an artist
Hmm.
or to marketing yourself, like you were saying before. So I want to even further along. I want to set up a foundation called the SLART Foundation and leave a legacy to support children with funding and young
Hmm.
adults because it's hard to get out there really. It's
Hmm.
and I just want to do bigger and bigger pieces and being the big galleries and stuff like that as well. Because I've been torn between living a kind of quietish life and just painting in my spare time, but there seems to be a pull towards like doing it as a career, and
Hmm.
I can't shake that. It seems more of a kind of calling, and I guess because you're a marketing genius, I don't know. I think I need some kind of simple guidance that I can follow. It just seems like it's a bit of a minefield on where to start. I'm still doing loads on getting myself out there and doing exhibitions and stuff, but
Uh-huh.
I
Well,
don't know.
it's really, yeah, it's an interesting thing. There's so many, like being in your world here, of what you're trying to do. I was just looking, I have an original from this guy, Tiggy Ticehurst he's a New York artist,
Hmm,
and he's got a similar style in that's why I was kind of drawn to your things. I was looking to see
yeah.
if there was an image online of the one that I have. The one I have is a Guggenheim one, but you can see the
Oh,
style,
that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
that he has. Like that's kind of it. The one I have is about the Guggenheim, but
yeah.
it's constantly under construction. You can see the
Oh,
color,
nice.
and yeah, so that's the one I have similar, but I have an original in my office of that.
Yeah, that's a bit
Hmm.
like Jean de Buffet as well, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's very, so I think that there's something really cool about that, like how
Mm.
how do you, how do you feel philosophically about the art and commerce kind of combination there? Are you, because sometimes people they don't, the separation of church and state
Yeah,
thing. They
yeah.
don't like commercializing
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm not one of those artists who is totally against marketing and stuff. I see the power of marketing and
Mhm.
branding. I think I've got quite a good brand with SLART. I've got
Mhm.
yeah, I've definitely got strong branding, and I don't particularly enjoy the idea of creating a specific commission for someone, but I'm definitely open to marketing my work. I'm fine with that.
And that's it. So I
Um,
wonder what would be like, I look at I wonder, especially in brands, like I think if you look at fashion or personal brands or, up and coming, that so much of interpreting that whole vibe could be totally supported with art that is,
mm,
like I think about, I remember hearing a story years ago when Braniff Airlines was getting started, that they hired an artist to make, to do, create the whole environment, like
mm.
surround the whole thing in art, basically, like chose
Oh,
the
nice.
colors for the planes and the interiors and the uniforms and the artwork
Mm,
around the thing. And I think that that could really like uniquely elevate something,
mm.
but it's a fine line of going into like commercial art in that kind of a way.
Yeah.
Do you afraid or feel like someone who goes over to that side is like betraying the other side, the artistic side, or
Oh
uh,
no, definitely not. I'm open
no?
to stuff like that. I think I've learned that it's okay to do both. It's the weird thing is, well, it's not weird, but I'm doing a day job which is okay. I can do it, and it's
Hmm.
fine. And then some people might say, "Oh, I'm not going to create a piece for someone commercially." But the way I look at it now, wouldn't it be better if I'm still creating something and getting paid for it rather than doing a day job, which is
Right,
kind of okay. Do you know what I
right.
mean? It's like surely that's 100 times better than
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm definitely open to any kind of avenues because I can still create the art I want as well, and
Hmm.
then that kind of takes the pressure off. But yeah, I feel like a few people have advised me to stick to my own style because I'm sure a lot of artists experience this. You look at all these amazing paintings and they're like modern day Renaissance paintings, hyper
Hmm.
realistic and amazing lighting and stuff like that, which is cool. And they're amazing painters, but I have no inkling to want to do that or have any enjoyment in
Realism.
learning that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
I have a designer that works with me who is an amazing pencil artist. Like, but he's photo realistic. Like he
yeah.
take a picture of something, he can completely recreate it with pencil. But there's the way I look at it, it's like that is a different creative process than what you're doing is representative. It's
Yeah.
not a duplication of something.
Yeah. That's right.
You're creatively, you're the genesis of the idea. I wonder, you think about when I was in London, there's a restaurant called Sketch. I don't know if you know about
Yeah.
this.
We went there. We went there after
Oh,
the,
you went with us?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you were
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was such a thing when you were there, when we were there together, was it the one where every one of a kind, where every piece in the restaurant was an original, or was it another theme?
I can't remember who the artist was then.
But for everybody
Yeah.
listening, this is where there's a restaurant in London, and they change is it every year or 8 months or something?
Um,
Switch it up.
yeah, I can't remember. They change it semi
Different
regularly. Yeah.
concept. So
Yeah.
I've been there a few times. One of the times that I was there was original, and every piece in every cup, every glass, every fork, spoon, chair, table, everything was one of one. There was
Yeah.
only one of it in the things. So yeah, it was a really interesting thing. So I remember like doing things for, you know, exposure like that in a way. Like imagine if you took a regular restaurant, for instance,
Mm.
that and you put a SLART filter over the environment, over the thing, over the whole uh, place, from
Yeah.
the menus, from the surroundings, from the almost like, you know, being the artistic vision of the place, what kind of an impact that could have on a restaurant as a
Mm.
differentiator, you know?
Yeah.
Sally Hogshead, good friend, she wrote a book called How to Fascinate, but she's working on a new book called Different is Better Than Better. And, you know, and this is kind of what's neat about artwork is that no matter what, it's original, it's like there's only one Steve Light. There's only
Yeah.
one Slart, you know, look to things that you can pick that out, you know?
Yeah. Oh God, I love that idea actually. You are a genius. I wouldn't have made that link doing potentially doing that locally or something.
Yeah, like this
Um
is where you're kind of I've been playing around so this I've been looking at and identified what I call the VCR formula. And
yeah.
it's, you know, what has allowed Kylie Jenner and Mr. Beast and all these people to become billionaires.
Mm.
But and the formula is vision plus capabilities multiplied by reach. And so if we look at it that, you know, what any art needs is reach. You need to be seen. And the more people see, the more people resonate, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at the idea of creating a global, like art is international and global. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like international language. There's no interpretation
Yeah.
needed for art, which is a fantastic thing. But the reach, you know, there's no way to reach 8 billion people with your art in a way that you can narrow the focus of, you know, if I'm applying the 8 profit activators
Yeah.
to a model of how to, as an artist like that, part of what I would be thinking, you know, is initially it's about select a single target audience, right? And sometimes, as in art, sometimes the artificial constraint is you know, the beginning of creativity, right?
Yeah.
So if you think to see, like, are you back in Swindon now, you said? Or are you
Yeah.
still?
Yeah.
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 So you're back in Swindon and you're, you know, that whole region kind of thing, Bristol, Swindon, you start to think you don't need to be the biggest artist in the world. And if you are going to be the biggest artist in the world, the most renowned, with the widest reach, you've got to be the biggest artist in Swindon.
Yeah.
Just by default, right? And it's much easier to have an impact in Swindon than it is to have it in all of the UK, for instance, you
Yeah.
know, because you're constrained by reach is often, if you don't have it, it's often constrained by the financial ability to buy it. You can buy reach,
Yeah.
you can buy exposure, but better thing is to find people who have reach assets that they don't know. And it could be like a restaurant, you know, like
Yeah.
a local restaurant. There's a
Uh,
guy, one of my new favorites. Are you familiar with Max Colo?
No, I've never heard of him.
Okay, so he's a designer, and what he's doing is he's creating these things where he'll redesign signs or things on the street and without anybody asking him kind of thing. And he puts them up on his site. So it's kind of, I'll show you one of them because it's pretty funny. So yeah, the guy's name is Max Colo. And let me share the screen and you can see what I'm talking about. It's just like anonymously he's going and doing this. Share. So there we go.
City without anyone asking me to. On the community bulletin board here, I discovered Man with Van. Just a neighborhood man trying to turn his van into a side hustle. He's offering up his help with van related tasks in the neighborhood. I respect it. However, his design feels a bit too. It's kind of cold and mysterious. After all, he is a man in a van, so to help him come across as a bit more friendly and trustworthy, we're going to use playful illustration and some design that feels a bit more professional. I took inspiration from vintage label designs and made simple, bold choices that transform Man with Van into a brand that's established. Look at how much more inviting this man and his van are. I don't know who Man with Van is, but now he's got a whole brand identity.
That's so clever.
It's great, right? Like this
Yeah,
is like this is my day two of redesigning signs with nobody asking me to do.
yeah.
And
And the
I thought,
whole, yeah. Sorry, carry on.
no, but I think
Uh,
that that level of like just doing it and getting it out there, not waiting for permission,
Yeah,
it's kind of an interesting thing that you wonder, you think about who in what's the population of Swindon, by the way?
quite big. It's about 220,000. So
That's a big
it's,
place.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, you start to look at that as who's got reach there, where
yeah.
where are all of the people, that's kind of and looking for opportunities to, exchange those things, like putting, if you look at what your art is, how many people are there like you in Swindon, would you say? Is there an art scene in Swindon? Is
Yeah,
there
there is one. God, it's hard to say. I would say a couple of hundred. There's probably more, but from who I know, like in the kind of people I meet and
Well, even
everything at
at your
art
studio,
events,
even at your studio, there's
yeah, there's about 25 at the studio, and
right.
then yeah, there's a good community, yeah, and a lot of artists make use of exhibiting in pubs and stuff like that. So it's unfortunately there's not an art gallery there now. It closed down, and they're reopening inside the council offices, which is
Mm.
I find bizarre. So they've got like £1 million Lowry picture. Lowry's another one who inspires me because it's kind of like sort of like stick figures. He documented like northern working class scenes and stuff up in I can't remember where it is near Manchester.
Mhm,
But yeah, they've got all these great paintings and they're just using their own civic offices, which is weird. But
mhm,
so a lot of people being creative with street art and exhibiting in cafes and pubs and stuff like that. But I had this idea. You see, like we were talking about before, you see street art on walls and it's just paint on walls. But what I
mhm.
wanted to do was have a framed art exhibition outside,
Mm,
which is there permanently. So it's like wooden frames fixed to the like drilled to the wall and like have a
yeah,
row.
right.
So that's something. Yeah, that's something I am going to do. It's just one of the ideas I've written down, like something that will catch people's attention, and it's not the usual kind of street art, but it's like combining gallery and street art, literally.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing that I bet if you just look around Swindon, there's probably those are what I would call reach assets, right? That there's
Mm,
probably a lot of those things that there's probably a lot of blank walls
mm,
that would be perfect for that,
yeah.
and it's kind of an interesting thing, whether you did it kind of, part of what might be an interesting thing is creating a collective, like
Mm.
you think about back in the day, in Paris in the 20s, there
Mm.
were the group in Canada, there was the group of seven. And
Yeah.
you start to think about a collective of these contemporaries that maybe you collectively get together and create those reach assets, and your stature individually goes up as the group goes up.
Yeah. That's funny you should say that, because when we did this mural, it's around the corner from me actually.
Mhm.
We called ourselves the Redcliffe Collective. So it was a couple of people I knew from the studio, and then we put a message on Facebook to get local artists that we knew between us, and we all joined together and painted this. So it's
Mhm.
called Redcliffe Collective because the street is Redcliffe Street.
Mhm.
And we got on BBC News and stuff, which was
Mhm.
really cool. We contacted Points West, which is a regional news program for all of the Southwest. So it'd be kind of cool, like doing something a couple of years later as a collective and saying that it was us who did it. I think
Mhm.
that'd be quite cool. Even if not everyone joins, we just get a piece from each of us and put it out somewhere. Yeah, I think that would be quite cool actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that I think is where that's where the thing comes up, is that you look at, I mean, this is going to sound weird, but I don't know if you're a hip hop fan, but I mean, if you follow
Yes.
the Wu-Tang, uh,
Yes. Wu-Tang Clan, one of my
you,
favorites. Yeah.
so you think about Wu-Tang Clan was really a hip hop collective,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the whole way that they approached that, was realizing that they can get notoriety as a group and then individually
Yeah.
out from that foundation, and that's kind of, I don't know, there might be an interesting, did you see the Wu-Tang documentary?
Oh no, I haven't seen that actually. No.
Okay.
Is it
uh,
good?
It's very good. And I
Mm.
think if you were to look at it, watch it
Yeah.
with a collective approach of thinking, because all these artists, everybody in the collective in Swindon, in all parts of the world, that are trying to think about how they can make a mark in the art world, or make the leap to at least having art be
Mm.
their livelihood and their life kind of thing,
Yeah.
there's an opportunity there to put yourself in the position of organizing the collective. Everybody's waiting to be selected for somebody to take they think there's somebody that has to appoint me to this position, but
Yeah.
all art is self-appointment. It's
Yeah.
really, there's nobody stopping you from doing whatever you want. Just your vision is what's you know uh
Yeah.
the limiting thing, is vision and belief, that's kind of the thing, because you've got the capability,
Mm.
you've got it. So it's really just a matter of, that's why, in the past, it was really, there's a lot of parallels to art and music, in that in the past there was kind of the gallery, system, that you
Mm.
had to get in a gallery, that somebody shows your work so that you
Yeah.
you get aware, that people are aware of you otherwise. But it feels like there's an opportunity to take that in your own hands now,
Yeah, that is so true. People don't rely on the big record labels, and artists don't rely on the main galleries and stuff now. So yeah, there is so much opportunity. I just
Imagine too, with
yeah.
music is a similar thing, so complementary
Mm.
and so, you know, different. Music and writing, you think at all the arts, music and
Mm.
writing and film and, all of those things. To what extent that you can organize that collective, like it would be
Mm.
very interesting. Think about the impact that you could have on a band that is starting to try and break into the music
Mm.
world. They're only, the more multi-sensory things can be,
Yeah.
I think there's some real, that's an interesting thing of it having some multidisciplinary things in the collective, right? Where
Yeah.
the combination of it, like you look at getting your artwork associated with an artist, because so much of what brings the tone of how you approach music is what the cover art or the badge looks like,
Yeah.
right? Or the single, or what the band's aesthetic is. It's an advantage for bands if they don't have it, that's an opportunity for you,
Yeah.
I think, in that collective, right? To be
Yeah.
able to align with who would be the musical, what would be the sound of your art if it had a sound, right? What would be the vibe? What kind of music do you listen to?
Well,
Or are
I'm
you
a
inspired
big
by? What's
fan.
on your playlist while you're creating art?
I listen to a lot of hip hop,
Yeah,
90s hip hop. Wu-Tang's my favorite,
yeah.
Tupac, Snoop, and all that,
Uh-huh.
the usual. But I also, a lot
You
of
know
the
what's
time, I'm
funny
listening
is
to, yeah.
who lives in Winter Haven here now is Damon Dash.
Oh, really?
So where I do my studio stuff, that's where his American New Studios is. He bought or is buying the studio where I do all my stuff. So I see him in there all the time.
Oh, nice.
Right here in Winter Haven,
Yeah.
hip hop's royalty.
Yeah, I also listen to a lot of Devo, which is, have you heard of Devo, 80s?
Of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have. I've only discovered them like a couple of
Whip it.
years ago.
Mhm.
Amazing. Yeah, Whip It and B-52s as well.
Oh, wow.
Loving them. I've got a playlist between the two bands and
Yeah.
they seem to really fit together.
Yes.
And Keith Haring used to one time he listened to Rock Lobster on repeat for like 6 hours or something when he was painting. I don't think I could quite do that, but
Right.
but yeah, I love these ideas. They're more up my street than just kind of hoping for the best with things and like,
Yeah.
I don't know, because like I said, I set up this mural project and there was this blank wall and I made that happen. I got the funding for it from the local community. It didn't cost a lot of money, had a buzz around it, and that I enjoyed every minute of the whole process. And I feel like I need to look at other ways where I can apply this locally. And the restaurant thing is really cool because I can design things as well, so I can make all the menus, and it's not going to cost the restaurant very much as well, and it will
Right.
have a big impact locally. And yeah, I think that would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. And then imagine, doing posters or things for local bands or putting together a music festival even, right? Organizing what will be the equivalent music collective that's in
Mm.
Swindon there, is putting some organization to things, creating a context that's bigger than the individuals
Yeah,
is
yeah,
a pretty neat thing.
yeah, that makes me think. I don't really know any local bands or anything, so it gives me an opportunity to look into that because I'm sure there's some awesome people about. That reminds me, there was one guy, this guy called Lee Knott, who's played at Glastonbury last year. He's done quite well in his career, and we actually painted his suit, which he wore at Glastonbury. So he wore this old like pinstripe suit, and the Redcliffe Collective painted him. He wore this gas mask, and we just like spray painted him all over. That was quite a cool thing. Little things like that, like recording that and putting it on Instagram and stuff, like the
Yeah.
guy did with the man in the van thing.
Yeah.
Just little things like that, making the most of the local town. And yeah, like you were saying, there you can be the best artist in the world, but make a mark on where you are first.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, yeah, it just really inspires me because there's a lot of opportunity here, and it's not like if you go into London, it's kind of massively competitive because there's obviously a lot more people, and there's a lot more people who have studied art, and it seems like there's this kind of wide open here a bit more. Yeah.
And I think that's it, right? Is not looking at, like, I think embracing this intersection of art and commerce is a great place to come from, as opposed to really positioning in a way that requires patrons, or that it's like coming from a patron of the arts type of thing is
Yeah.
not. It's, you know, yeah, it's a different come from, but I think there's something to really use and understand the advantage of that really great art can bring to really great businesses and
Mm.
really great things. It's what makes the really great businesses great, is
Yeah.
often their artistic aesthetic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that idea. And their sketch as the case study, isn't there? It's like,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
what more I don't even have to prove it. They've got a top London restaurant that,
Yeah, like if you're is somebody as a it almost like elevates things. It allow like a chef, especially if you go like going in that Michelin star world of trying to be a
mm,
world-renowned chef, that part of it is the food in many cases has to stand alone, but the
mm,
ones that really rise to the top, if you really look at everything, it's the whole aesthetic around everything as well. It's not just the food,
yeah,
it's the whole experience of the food, which is
yeah,
the location and the architecture and the surroundings you know, I think that kind of stuff is really artistic expression
mm,
at its best level. I think there's the most opportunity for artistic expression within commerce than
yeah,
outside.
yeah, absolutely. It, yeah, it's made me think getting the commerce side sorted in terms of my website and everything, and then going to do work on these community based art projects is something I really enjoy. And then
Mhm.
I'm not having to sell to anyone. People might see my work in the restaurant or,
That's what it is.
yeah, and then
You
buy it
just need
off
to
me.
be
It's like,
exposed to
yeah,
people, right? And
yeah,
I think that's amazing thing. If I look at Swindon, if I look at it's so inexpensive to
mm,
put art out, to do even on Facebook as an
yeah,
example, to just put a bubble around Swindon
yeah,
and to have imagine pairing the collective art with a local song, like with a song from a band, uh, and just having it on a exposure loop around, to build an audience on Facebook. Because
yeah,
it's like $2 or $3 CPMs, meaning, for two or three, you know, you're getting in front of people for, you know, 2 cents or
yeah,
less, 2 cents for an exposure. To have this music, but having art on a kind of, display
mm,
uh, as you go, dissolving into the next one, into the next one. It's kind of like a roaming gallery. That's something that I think could be a really interesting thing. You can build an audience of people who watch the whole thing, and what a great exposure
yeah. No, I
for
love that. Mm.
yeah. And that's very inexpensive, right?
Yeah, yeah. I've also thought of creating a, you know, like we've been talking about, people paint on walls, people do graffiti and stuff covertly, and or do big pieces like, well, like Banksy, obviously. But I thought of the idea of creating some kind of statue. I like the idea of fixing a statue to the pavement so it's permanent, and then
Mm.
documenting that. I
Imagine
really
if you
like that
went
idea.
around town, if you went around Swindon
Yeah,
and found these places that would be perfect for the frames that you're talking
yeah,
about, the things you could put together a walking tour or a
yeah.
driving tour of all of the spots.
Mm.
Another artist I really love is Tom Sachs. Are you familiar with Tom Sachs?
No.
You're gonna love him. He's fantastic. Yeah, Sachs, Tom Sachs. But sometimes, I don't know, I just have I love that pure creativity.
Where is he based? Is he American? Or...
New York. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, well, how did all this land? Talked about a lot there. What
Yeah.
your thoughts on?
Well, it wasn't quite what I expected. I imagined we'd go through the profit activators and stuff, but it's actually worked out better than I expected. So, because like you said, it's not the same as offering a service like an interior designer or something. It's very different, and the ideas you've shared with me and just chatting with you about art and stuff has been brilliant.
Mm.
And you seem to know your stuff. Not that it's about knowledge, but you have an appreciation of art.
I do have
Yeah, and I'm excited about trying these things out, and it's taken the pressure off. Like, I've signed up to courses like you've probably, well, I don't know if you've seen them on Instagram. Like, there's so many popping up about how to sell your art now, and you go through
wow. Yeah.
a series of like training videos, and it's just find it really boring. And I'd rather be creative with the promotion of my art as well. That's part of the excitement of it. So yeah, I'm gonna what I'm taking away from it is this restaurant idea, taking it from sketch, thinking of maybe a restaurant that's kind of struggling to get people in a bit, making a kind of mutual beneficial thing that's creating a buzz and helping the local community and stuff like that. And it's just got me thinking more about not trying to directly sell my artwork, but have it there available, so if people want to come and buy it, they can.
Sell itself. That's the great thing about art, is you just need to get it seen. Because then people that are drawn to it will, and you've got it for sale. That's the great thing, you know? So people who want to go and follow you, it's SLART.me, SLART.me.
Yeah.
Or Steve Light.
And that's the same on Instagram. It's at SLART.me as well. Yeah. Haven't posted much on there, but you've re-inspired me to start documenting these things I do. That guy, he posted those. The man with a van thing was really cool. I have to have a look for him.
That guy, if anybody wants to follow on Instagram, is Max Colo.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And it's fun to just watch. Like I'm very attracted to the way that he approaches those things, you know, and I just think there's something, fantastic and inspiring about it. So I'm excited. I mean, so next year, 2025, June, I'm going to be back in London.
Oh, nice.
I'd love to see you again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Maybe I'll come and do the walking tour of the Swindon Collective, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's only an hour on the train from London. Now. Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe go to an art gallery or something. That'd be cool.
That's one of my funniest train moments ever. I got off the train in Bristol.
Yeah.
I got in a black cab and I asked the guy, I said, where can I get a massage? Right? Like, think the spa or something like that. And he turns back to me and he goes, well, an erotic massage.
I knew you were going to say that.
Laughed and laughed. I was thinking like a spa, like a real. That was his thought, an erotic massage.
Yeah, there's a lot of those about in Bristol, I think. So.
I bet. That's so funny. That was his first reaction, his first thought. So funny.
Did you notice their accent then? Can you, as an American, can you notice the strong accent? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. It was great.
Oh,
all
cool.
Right. Well, it's been fantastic. It was good to reconnect with you. I'd love to see that you're thriving.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it, man.
Now. Yeah. And I can't wait to see what you do with all of this.
Yeah, me too. I'm raring to go. I'm gonna get my notepad out and jot a few things down and yeah, watch the space. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Dean.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, good to see you. Bye.
You too. Bye bye.